Ewan, thank you so much for joining us here at the Baby Show live at home. Last time I saw you, you came along to the Baby Show when Teddy was just born. So tell us, how old is Teddy now?
Yeah, he's just gone 16 months now, and it feels like it's flown by. It was literally yesterday it felt he was born, and now he's actually a bit of an effort to lift up. He's actually getting a big boy now. So yeah, he's grown absolutely loads, because obviously when he was born, I know we'll probably talk about it, we had quite a few health issues, and he was on the smaller side, you know, on the percentiles and stuff. They said, oh, he's not very tall, he's not very big, he's not very heavy. And now he's like, I think 99% for weight, height and everything. So he's going to be a bit of a big yeah.
Going to be like his daddy.
Yeah.
Champion one day, champion. Because I know that it's quite nice to have a dad's point of view here at the Baby Show live at home, because I'm sure there's lots of dads with us today doing a bit of shopping and preparing for parenthood. So it's quite nice to hear from a dad, you know, obviously aside from lockdown right now, which is very strange. How has becoming a dad changed your life?
It's totally changed my life. It's you know, I'm not afraid to admit it. I think especially being a professional sportsman, my whole career I was really selfish, I was really driven. It was always about me, and literally no one else mattered, and all I had to do was thinking about getting myself as fit as I could be to run those certain times in certain races, and whatever I had to do, I would do it. If I had to go training for 6 months and not speak to anyone, that is what I would have done. And when a bundle of joy comes into your life, you all of a sudden realize what real love is all about, if I'm honest with you. And I realize I've led a very selfish life, and now all of a sudden nothing's about me. It's Teddy, and I absolutely love it. And it was literally overnight changed everything. And I almost wish I'd done it years before now. I almost, you know, speak to a lot of friends who've got kids, and they're all like, you'll be a great dad, you're such a daft idiot, you're so immature, you'd be fun to be around. And I was like, yeah, I'm not ready for that yet. And almost it happened, and Teddy was here, and I was like, wow. And I absolutely love it.
Yeah,
it's changed everything. It really has. Yeah,
it has. So obviously the mums are carrying the baby for 9 months. Is there any tips you would give a dad to sort of help that bonding? Because obviously it's harder for the dads to get involved. The mum is feeling the baby growing in its tummy. Any tips on what dads could do sort of maybe throughout the pregnancy or equally in the birth room?
Yeah, well, I read somewhere, you know, you should talk to the bump, you know, because the baby will recognize your voice when it comes into the real world. And so I tried to like just be myself, sing to the bump. I was talking to him all the time. I was letting him know, this is me, I'm your daddy. And then, yeah, I'll be honest, I think it is quite hard for the man to start with, because when the baby is born, I think especially for the first 3 to 6 months or so, you feel a bit of a spare part. I mean, you try and help out and you do all your bits and pieces, but the bond between the baby and the mother is so brilliant, and it's so strong, and rightly so. I felt not a spare part, but I did feel I was out on the periphery a little bit. I did think like I was doing all I could, but it wasn't really, I think, until he was a bit older that I sensed he knows who I am. He knows I'm his dad, you know, and you start to bond, and he starts to get all his little traits, and his personality starts to come out. So I think the main thing is be patient as the father, and just be there, because the mum's going through hell. It really is tough. I get how hard it is, and especially giving birth. I don't want to put anyone off, but it is very traumatic. But I think for me, it was the most emotional night of my life as well. You know, I try and be a bit of a big burly bloke at times, and I just literally burst into tears when I saw him, and it was just the most magical thing ever. And all of a sudden I was like, this is what life is all about. You know, it's not about trying to run around a track as fast as you can, or see who's got the nicest, most materialistic lifestyle. It's a load of rubbish. All of that is nothing into comparison the love you feel for your son or your daughter. And I just think, you know, it's a journey. And I know a lot of people go on, and it's very nerve-wracking, and lots of my friends were giving me advice, and I think that's one thing I would say as well. You're going to get given so much advice. Take it all in, but there is no rule book. You know, my mates have got kids who slept from night one. They were amazing. I've got friends who've got kids who never slept, and I just didn't know what to really expect. All I kept given was advice. And the one thing that stuck in, everyone kept saying, oh, get your sleep in now. You're going to need it. You wait. And I thought, it can't be that bad. It is. I reckon it wasn't until Teddy was on solid food that he started to get a bit of a more regular sleep pattern, and things seemed to calm down a little bit. So I think that was like 5 or 6 months was pretty tough, but You know, there's
Yeah.
challenges.
I was going to say, what did you, sorry, it's a bit of a delay. I was going to say, what did you find the most challenging? And I think a lot of parents like you, it probably is the sleep deprivation at the beginning, isn't it?
I think so. But there are different challenges along the way. So, you know, at first, I used to find it really tough with, you know, the sleep deprivation and obviously trying to bond with him. And then everyone said, you know, it gets worse when they start walking. I was thinking, that can't be. But I suppose to start with, at least if you plonked him in the living room in front of a TV, you could run and make yourself a cup of tea or whatever, and then come back and he'd still be where you left him. Once he started crawling, he is a ball of energy. So like literally, you cannot turn your back. I reckon the maximum I turn my back is 1 second and he's done something. Even a minute ago, turn my back for literally a split second and he was jumping over the sofa, trying to walk on the sofa, and it's brilliant, but he's so much energy. So I think along the way, people message me on social media saying, I enjoy it now. You know, my daughter's 16. I've got a whole lot of other issues and worries. The concerns will never stop. They'll just change. So I think once you become a parent, you're always going to have different stresses along that journey. And I think just take everything in and really enjoy it, because it does go really quickly. I was speaking to James Jordan actually on the phone a couple of days ago, James Anola, and he was like, oh, it's tough, isn't it? And, you know, I was just saying to him, he was talking to me about what bottles are easy to use and, you know, what formula do you use? And I found myself trying to be a bit of an expert and telling him, and I just said the same thing that I'd say to anyone. You're going to get so much different bits of advice. I think a lot of it is trial and error. There really is no manual to becoming a father or becoming a mother. You just do the best that you can do. You're going to make mistakes along the way. Things are going to happen. It's just, I think, part of that journey of becoming a parent, and you just got to try to be the best parent you can be. I'm sure my mum and dad made mistakes and things happened, you know, and I'm sure I've made mistakes, but, you know, they're mistakes that I don't mind making at the moment, because he's turning into an absolute beaut. I must admit, I love him spending time with Teddy.
Proud. You're a very proud daddy, and quite right too. And now I'm sure you have already got some funny stories from parenting. Have you got any you can share with us? Any funny stories?
That's nice stories. I think nappy explosions are the one I'll never get used to. So
Everyone says that.
Yeah. I think at first this may sound a bit weird, but the poos weren't too bad, because it was almost like a chicken korma, or a little bit nutty. They didn't really smell too bad. So they'd be bad in terms of they'd go up the back. There was times where I'd change him and I'd think, how has that happened? Something so small produced so much, but it would be literally up his back, through his t-shirts, everywhere. But and I moaned about that then, but now I'd swap for those days, because obviously now the nappies are stinky, you know. So there's all different things, but I think really, just there's no really bad stories, just the usual kind of like, you know, little things like checking does he need a nappy change, and pulling his trousers down and pulling the nappy to the part, and you know, accidentally poking my finger in there and getting stuff on my finger. It's funny because at first I was like, oh my god, I've got a bit of poo on me, but now it doesn't faze me. When I change the nappy now, it's on my hand or whatever, I'll never mind, I'll wash that off. Yeah, it's I think it's funny what you get used to, what you become accustomed to, but there's certain things that are absolutely disgusting, but when it's your boy or it's your girl, you're like, it's
unconditional. It's unconditional love, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
They can be up all night, and then that lovely smile in the morning, all is forgiven, and a new day starts.
That's the thing. I mean, at the moment, he's going through a bit of a leap or whatever they call it. I don't know, but his sleep was terrible. I mean, for the first 3 months, sorry to put people off, but he was not sleeping at all. So he'd sleep a lot during the day, and he'd be up every 2 hours throughout the night, and there's nothing we could do to change that. We had sleep specialists help us, everything. But then eventually it clicked, and he started to sleep a lot better. But there's always something. So recently he's been teething again. So last night, I think he was up at like 1 o'clock, then 3 o'clock, and then got up at 5 o'clock. You know, some days are still bad, but like you said, I can curse him and think, oh, I just want some sleep. But then when he looks at you in the morning and he just smiles with his big blue eyes, looks up at you and puts his arms up like that and tries to say, Dada, you just think, I don't care if I've had no sleep. Honestly, it doesn't matter, because
all is forgiven.
Yeah, the joy he brings outweighs the slight negativity. There's no negative real parts, but you know, the stuff, you know, you sometimes, like I looked in the living room today and I thought, hang on a minute, I've only left him for 30 seconds. I thought I'd been burgled. I was like, how can someone make that much mess? And I think back to when this house was immaculate, and there was
that was my next question.
Yeah.
That's my next question. Is for a little tiny person, they need an awful lot of stuff. And I know that a lot of people this weekend, hopefully, are getting some shopping done. Is there any particular product that you loved, that you and your wife loved, and when you were out shopping, and stuff that you've had in the house that you think, oh, we couldn't have lived without that?
I think even now I'm looking at it over there. The baby monitor, I think, is if I could take one thing with me, and I had to have all the time, the baby monitor is essential. You know, when he's asleep, to check he's okay, because especially to start with, when he's not in your room anymore and he goes into his nursery, you're thinking, oh, you get paranoid. Is he still breathing? He's never made that noise before. And especially with Teddy's health issues. So it was very much like every single noise. I've not heard that before. Right, I'm phoning the doctor in the morning. What is that? And you become a little bit over paranoid. So I think something like a baby monitor has been essential. Obviously, the milk formula, the milk bottle, the sterilizing kit, things that just make your life a little bit easier. I think there's a lot of gadgets out there. And when it comes to toys, he's got absolutely everything. But I've got to tell you, give him a cardboard box.
He's happy.
He's just as happy playing in a cardboard box than he is with some train set or something. But I think it's all about now, because he's really, it seems quite bright. So, you know, it's keeping him stimulated, keeping him busy, keeping his mind busy and keeping him occupied. But yeah, he loves running around with our dog. You know, he's just good fun to be around. He's brilliant.
Oh, I love it. I love all your stories. Now, obviously, we've been in lockdown, such strange times. Any advice of how you're coping with a little toddler at this time in lockdown?
I'm actually looking at it as a positive thing, if I'm honest with you, because normally before lockdown, I'd probably be away a couple of nights a week, or I'd be away working and so forth. So for me personally, I've got loads of DIY done at home. So I've been really busy doing the garden and stuff. But
Good stuff.
It's an opportunity to spend time with Teddy. I don't think he realises anything's different, if I'm honest with you, but it's just keeping him occupied. So it's going to the local park, or, you know, I've got a running buggy, which I absolutely love. So go running with him in the little buggy. That's brilliant, because it means I get my exercise done for the day, and he comes out and he gets to look around at the trees and the birds and stuff. So I think it's just about spending good time with him and trying to wear him out. So he sleeps at night, really, trying to keep him busy. And
plenty of fresh air.
Fresh air, just, you know, he's at the age where he's taking a lot in at the moment. So, you know, I'll point to things like, where do you want to go? And he'll point like down in the garden, or he'll point at a tree or whatever. So he seems to me like he's at the age where he understands a lot, but obviously can't communicate his feelings. And that's another thing as well. I've read up on the fact that, you know, I always thought tantrums, that kid must be spoilt doing a tantrum like that. But it's not. It's just the fact that they can't communicate what they're trying to say. And although he's not in his terrible twos yet, he's beginning to show signs of little tantrums where, like, you know, he'd smack the floor. And it's not because he's not getting what he wants. You can see he's just really frustrated. He's trying to communicate, but he can't.
It's actually quite a healthy thing. It's quite a healthy thing that they're trying to communicate with you. And again, it's all little stages. It's something you're battling with 1 week, disappears, and it's something else. So you touched upon earlier about the very early days with Teddy, and he was poorly, wasn't he, when he was born? Tell us a little bit about that. Group B strep.
Yeah, never heard of it before whatsoever. And he was born, everything seemed fine. And literally about 4 hours later, I get a panicked phone call saying he stopped breathing. He's in intensive care. And I was like, what? How? He was like perfect. So yeah, the next 10 days were a real battle. So he was in intensive care, in incubators, all the tubes breathing for him. And it was horrendous. So yeah, the strep B, we didn't know what it was. No one ever told us about it. And what I've tried to do since he's been born is really push the message out there for people to please get tested. You know, it's only 25 or 30 pounds to go private and get a test. Unfortunately, you know, I'm not going to sit here and badmouth the NHS, because they're absolute legends and they kept him alive and I owe everything to them. But unfortunately, in the UK, the NHS don't routinely screen for it, and they do in a lot of other countries. It's obviously down to a cost or whatever. And I think there's a few grey areas where you might be a carrier of strep B, but when you actually give birth, it's not active, so you're not going to pass it on. But it's a simple test, and if you are a carrier, you don't need to panic. But when you give birth, you'll be put on a drip, some antibiotics, and you can't pass it on. But unfortunately, if the child does get it, I think 1 in 10 babies will die, or if not, most will be left brain damaged or a cerebral palsy or some you know, health issues in the future. So touch wood, Teddy pulled through, and everything's fine. And you know, I can't thank the nurses and the staff enough who saved him, but it was a really scary time. And even for the first year, because unfortunately when he came out of intensive care and, you know, seemed okay, we were told we can't guarantee he won't have cerebral palsy. You know, he might be brain damaged, he might be disabled. You won't know. And I thought, well, surely he would tell. We were going to hospital every 3 months and he seemed fine. He seemed to be hitting all the benchmarks and all the markers they wanted. And they, even to like a year, they said, we still can't guarantee. So I think he's fine. But unfortunately, you know, there's certain symptoms won't show for quite a long time. But he seems perfect to me. He's running around.
Brilliant.
And, you know, I really feel for those families who aren't so fortunate, because, you know, obviously everyone's got nothing but love for their children. And the worst thing as a new father for me was feeling helpless, seeing him in intensive care in the incubator, just thinking, please, I'd swap with him right now if I could. I'm not even religious, but I found myself praying to God in those first 10 days, just thinking, you know, please do everything you can to make sure he's okay. And, you know, it's just a scary time.
It is. And I think it's good you're making, bringing about some awareness to get a test for Group B strep. I actually was a carrier. So I was on the drip when I had my, but and very similar. I don't know, I can't even remember how I heard about it, but I read it somewhere or heard it from a friend, and I asked for the test, and I'm again truly grateful I did. And I think it's good to bring about that awareness and help other families as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You know, I often think, you know, out of the misfortune that Teddy had and how horrible it was, if I could just help one family hear about this and get a test, and it's worth doing. And I know I remember I went on this morning with Philip and Holly, and when I came off, my social media went crazy. They were going on, we've never heard of it, you know, I'm 6 months pregnant, I'm going to get tested. Or unfortunately, a lot of other people contacted me and said, you know, we weren't so lucky, we lost our child, or we weren't so lucky, our boy's brain damage or whatever. And, you know, all I try and do is push that message out there. You know, I'm not here to preach to anyone. All I'm saying is, you know, if someone had told us, we would have got the test and we didn't know. So it's a simple test.
Yeah,
it's worth doing, isn't it? And there's nothing to worry about. And the worst thing you want is to have any extra stress in your pregnancy. But, you know, try and leave no stone unturned and get things ticked off and tested. And, you know, hopefully a lovely bouncy baby will come into the world.
Yeah, look at Teddy. Teddy's a beautiful, beautiful little boy. And before we have to say goodbye to you here, is there anything you're up to at the minute that we can find you on? How do we follow you on socials?
Yeah, so I'm at Iwan Runner. That's my Instagram, and you know, you'll see a lot of Teddy on there because he is everything. He is my life, and you know, I share it. In fact, I've just put a picture of him tonight up, and you know, I love sharing my little journey of being a father, because I think people can relate to it, and I think people enjoy it. So yeah, long may it continue, and you know, there'll be a time when he won't want to hang out with me anymore. You know, there'll be a time when he's a bit older and I'm not a cool dad. So at the moment, I'm loving the fact that he loves being with me, and I'm sharing it with the world.
Oh, I love it. Well, it's really, really nice chatting to you. Lovely to chat. Thank you for joining us here at the Baby Show live at home. And please bring Teddy along to the next show when we eventually can have it happening again at another event.
I will do. Lovely to chat to you.
Cheers. Bye for now. Bye.